All right, so now that we've watched a movie trailer, let's compare this and see what we can learn about writing an introduction. Before I go too much into depth here, in thinking about what movie trailer to pick, right, there's a lot of ones I could choose from. I tried to choose something this was a movie that was controversial, right? A lot of people loved it, a lot of people hated it, some people don't care about it at all. But the idea is people feel very strongly about it. And the same is going to be true of a lot of the topics you're going to write about in college. People are going to feel very strongly for one side or the other, or in between. And so that aspect of controversy is actually very helpful because it draws people in, it makes people interested in it. And I just love Star Wars. So, regardless of how you felt about this movie or whether you've seen it or not, there are things that we can learn about writing an introduction from this trailer. So even if you really hate this movie, just hang in there with me, and let's just see what we can learn from this. Regardless, we're going to kind of set our feelings about the movie aside and just see what we can learn from it. But of course, I chose a movie that was controversial because it's something that people are going to feel different feelings about, and that actually works in your favor when you're writing. So, 3 easy steps here. The first step is that we want to get the reader's attention. We often call this a hook. So there are different ways to get the reader's attention. In the trailer, it starts with Rey running through the jungle, right? So there's this kind of mystery. What's she running from? What is she doing? What is happening? And that immediately gets us interested. Or that's at least what it's designed to do, to get us wondering, okay, what's happening here? What am I getting into? How do you do that in your introduction? You won't maybe be able to have the same artistic license, but you can still get your reader's attention through a statistic, something that's interesting, numbers that are going to reach out and get our attention, an anecdote or a story, something personal related to the topic, an interesting quotation or an interesting statement. So an interesting statement isn't just a general statement, right? Notice this example here. The cell phone is one of the most useful and controversial pieces of technology ever invented. That could be interesting because it's making some implications that could be debatable. And we're saying it's one of the most controversial pieces of technology ever invented. When there's controversy, people are interested. It gets people's attention. So those are some different techniques to get your reader's attention. You choose whichever one you feel fits best with your intro. Moving on to step 2, we need to present some background information. And the goal here is to explain to the reader whatever they need to know. So I like to set this up in terms of what are the different sides? What do people think about this? Why do people disagree about this? Why is it controversial? And what are the recent developments? And so in the trailer, it's a little different, right? But that shows that there's definitely background information. We get the sense that there is a conflict, right? There's a war going on. There's lots of different battles taking place. There's spaceships flying by. There's lightsaber fights, right? So we get a sense that there's two different sides, and we get a little bit of a sense that they're conflicting over different ideas. And you want to do the same thing in your introduction. Give us the different sides of the debate. Tell us what they think. Tell us what we need to know as context to understand this issue. Don't necessarily tell us your whole argument right now. You don't want to start arguing and presenting your evidence yet, but you do want to give us a taste of what's coming and also give us the background we need for this to make sense. You may also include key terms if there are terms in here that we would need to understand your topic. And then the last thing is to present your thesis. This is the most important part of your introduction because you are presenting your argument. Now, a lot of students will start their introduction with their thesis. I see that a lot. That's kind of it's too direct. It's too upfront. Just like with the movie trailer, you want to lead in with some mystery. Get us curious, give us the background we need to know, the context to understand, and then present us with a thesis. What is the thesis of the movie trailer? Well, basically the thesis of any movie trailer is going to be, this is going to be a good movie. You want to spend your money and your time on this. And that's the thesis of this movie trailer. So with your paper, it's going to be more specific to whatever topic you're talking about, but you need to make sure that it is three things: that it's debatable, meaning that it doesn't just state a fact, but it states things, it makes a claim that people could disagree with. It needs to be clear and specific. So look at my first example here. This example right here is not a clear, specific thesis statement. It may be debatable, but not really, and it's not specific enough. This is a much more specific thesis statement. We've narrowed down. Smartphones are damaging the social skills of adolescents. People can agree or disagree. People can see that it's very focused and narrow, because it's not going to be, if you're writing a short paper, you need to be as specific as possible. Here's another example, two more examples of specific thesis statements. So you're writing on a different issue than these, but whatever your stance is, you want to make that stance clear. You want your thesis to be straightforward and specific, and that's very important. So those are some things to keep in mind as you are doing this. You want your introduction to get us interested, to give us just the right amount of background, and then give us a clear thesis statement. Lastly, of course, because of citation is important, here's the copyright stuff. So with that, you have the basics of writing an introduction.